We are back, and in honor of International Women's Day 2023, I'm here to honor Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm. And I figured we would just go on a little bit of a journey, talk about all the films she's been involved in. Hey there, what's going on, Tony Movie? Uh, 60 films. We've got 8 Academy Awards. Kathleen Kennedy has been involved. She has produced or been a producer on 5 of the top 50 grossing films of all time. So, we're talk a little bit about Kathleen, talk a little bit about the things she's got going on now, and it's exciting. I think that people in general, uh, seem to have some sort of dislike against her just based on what's been going on lately with Lucasfilm, Star Wars, that kind of thing. But I guarantee if you go to these same people that complain so much about her, you go to their house and you go into their DVD physical media section, because a lot of the people that complain about her are people that are in their 40s and they have no idea all the films she had her hand in, which was all throughout their childhood. So we're going to talk a little bit about Kathleen and talk a little bit about her film history and why she's one of the most successful film producers in film history. And it's funny, everyone always says that Kathleen Kennedy doesn't know what she's doing. All she did was get coffee for Spielberg, and they just gave her jobs. Okay. I always find that that's hilarious. In 1971, she graduated from high school and went into the San Diego State University, and she majored in telecommunications and film. In her final year, she gained employment at a San Diego TV station, KCST. She took on various roles, including camera operator, video editor, floor director, and finally she was head of news production coordinator. After that, she goes on to Los Angeles and she secured her first production job working as an assistant for John Milius on a Steven Spielberg film titled 1941. It was kind of a bomb. John Belushi was in it. I want to say Carrie Fisher was in it too. I'd have to go back and look at the film. I remember watching it as a kid, but it was, I just remember it not being a great movie. But she was an assistant to John Milius. John Milius, who wrote Conan. John Milius, who helped write the Indianapolis story, the part of Jaws that Robert Shaw, it was Sackler wrote it, then Milius wrote it, and then Robert Shaw took Sackler and Milius's version and made his own version of the Indianapolis story for Jaws. And she was an assistant for John Milius, which had to have been insane, because if you've ever seen the history of John Milius, he was a force to be reckoned with. And but on that film, as she was the assistant for John Milius, she met Steven Spielberg and it caught his attention, her. And of course, he made her like his secretary and things like that. But it wasn't too long after that, in 1981, she co-founded with Spielberg and Frank Marshall, Amblin Entertainment, the Amblin Entertainment that has been the moniker for Steven Spielberg forever, co-founded by Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall. Now, Frank Marshall was a producer on Raiders of the Lost Ark. And, that's again Kathleen Kennedy. And the funny thing that kills me about people, they're always like, oh well, she just knew somebody and she was married to Frank Marshall. Yeah. But the thing about Kathleen is she knew what she was doing, and she knew various parts of the filmmaking process. And you got to start somewhere in Hollywood. Yeah, she was in the right place at the right time with the right people surrounding her that helped her grow as a producer as she went from movie to movie to movie to movie. And why people throw the whole, wow, she was just getting coffee for Spielberg and they threw her a job. It's like, I just don't understand that. I don't get that mentality. I've worked in the film industry for a long time, over 20 years. And, I've seen people. I could give you an example. I worked on a movie called Journey to the Mysterious Island, which was one of the executive producers was a man by the name of Marcus Visitti. Fantastic guy. Love this guy to death. And Marcus produced a lot of big stuff. Sex and the City. I actually did 2 movies with him, We're the Millers and Journey to the Mysterious Island that I worked under him. Both times production in the production office. And Marcus Visitti had a producing assistant. He had an assistant, a producer's assistant on that film named Adam Ellison. And Adam was a producer's assistant on the entire movie, Journey to the Mysterious Island. But at the end of the film, he had worked so hard and done so much stuff during that process. He was upgraded to associate producer at the end of the film. So over the course of the months of filming and everything that we did, he got upgraded. And see, that's what happens in the film industry. You can start somewhere as a producer's assistant, like Kathleen was with John Milius, or his assistant. He was a writer. Then move over to Spielberg's assistant. And then once you basically show your skill set, you can move up the ladder. It's not unheard of. It's not something that was just given to her. And that's the thing that I always get frustrated. So Adam Ellison, Marcus Visitti's producer's assistant, at the end of the film gets upgraded to associate producer. His next movie, hey, Colonel Useless, how are you? His next movie, Adam Ellison, he was a co-producer of Metallica's Through the Never, which was a big, for a while there, like Katy Perry had a 3D movie, Miley Cyrus had a 3D movie, Metallica had a 3D movie, and he was the co-producer. So he goes from, in one movie, producer's assistant to associate producer to co-producer of a huge event movie for Metallica. So for me, I just don't see the correlation. All I see is success. 8 Academy Awards. We're going to go through some of the films that Kathleen has been involved with. You ready for Kathleen to go? I sure am. Colonel Useless, that's fine. I mean, look, she's what, 70 now? 70 years old, going to be 71. Would she bow out anyway once her contract's up? Probably. There's rumors that she's going to leave after Indiana Jones 5 is released and put in her early resignation. So what? Who would be the replacement? Who knows? No idea. Jon Favreau? I don't know. I don't think so. But we'll see. Who knows? But let's see. So 1981, Kathleen Kennedy starts with Frank Marshall and Steven Spielberg, Amblin Entertainment. Movie out of the gate. She's an associate producer on Poltergeist. Poltergeist! A fantastic film that Spielberg, there's a story behind it where he actually did a lot of the directing, and the other guy just kind of got the name because he couldn't do 2 films at once. There was something going on where he couldn't bounce around from 2 sets because of the Directors Guild. But anyway, Poltergeist, fantastic movie. You cannot deny Poltergeist was a fantastic movie. And then the next film she's a producer on is E.T. the Extraterrestrial. I mean, anyone who's a kid who grew up in the 80s, that I saw E.T. in the theater. Fantastic movie. And still you can watch it to this day and just, it just brings you back to being a kid. I can't wait to show my daughter when she's old enough to see E.T. I guess I was 7 when I saw E.T. and I can't wait. I can't wait to show her. The next movie, 1983, Twilight Zone, the movie. Twilight Zone, the movie. Fantastic. It was a great movie. Really, I mean, I remember watching that film and seeing all the different stories that were intertwined with it. You can't deny it. Now, she was associate producer on 2 segments of that film because it was broken up into different parts. So the next one, associate producer, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. We all love that 1984 Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So there we go. She follows that up in 1984 with executive producer of Gremlins, the Gremlins. I mean, everybody loved Gizmo. Everyone loved Stripe. That was a huge movie that year with all of the puppets and everything that happened. And to know that she was the executive producer of that film, fantastic. Next film after that, Fandango, 1985, executive producer. I think that was the movie that gave Kevin Costner his big break. Then in 1985, again, executive producer of The Goonies. Goonies Never Say Die. Goonies Never Say Die. One of the best films of my childhood, directed by Richard Donner, executive produced by Steven Spielberg, executive produced by Kathleen Kennedy. Cannot deny Goonies is a fantastic film. Then she follows that in 1985 as well with Back to the Future. Yes, executive producer on Back to the Future, the Back to the Future. And she went on to be a producer on the other 2 Back to the Futures, but we'll get to them. A lot of movies came out in 1985 for her. Young Sherlock Holmes, she was an executive producer. She was a producer on The Color Purple, Oscar-winning The Color Purple. Danny Glover, Whoopi Goldberg, directed by Steven Spielberg. One of the best films of all time, The Color Purple. Gotta love it. 1986, she's a producer on, and remember, these are the release dates for the films. They came out in 86, but they're usually filmed a year prior. So just so you know that when I'm throwing those things out there. The Money Pit. The Money Pit. You know what? This is what I'm going to do. We're talking Tom Hanks, Shelley Long. Let's do this. Let's share a screen. We're going to share a screen and we're going to share the IMDb. Okay, so here we go. Because this is my reference. The Money Pit. Tom Hanks, Shelley Long. Excellent film. We all love that movie. Come on. One of the best comedies in the 80s. Then she follows that up. 1986 is released An American Tail. We all love Fievel, the little cartoon mouse. Great animation. What's up? Blinded. The next movie, 1987, Inner Space. Inner Space. Martin Short. Don't tell me. Dennis Quaid. Fantastic. And of course, without saying it, she was our sweetheart in the 80s. Top Gun. Oh God, what? It's killing me. See, I don't want to click on it because I remember all these movies. I'll click on it. Let's see. Meg Ryan. That's yeah. And Joe Dante directed that. Fantastic. So I'm going to get back here. Empire of the Sun, 1987. Kathleen Kennedy is responsible, along with Steven Spielberg, for discovering and bringing us all Christian Bale. Come on, people. How are you going to hate on Kathleen Kennedy? Absolutely fantastic. Empire of the Sun. Batteries Not Included. Executive producer, 1987. Oh my God. Yes, Empire of the Sun. Blinded. Great movie. We all know Batteries Not Included. Look at that. Brad Bird did the screenplay. Jessica Tandy, Hume Cronin, and they were married for years. They were real life sweethearts. And if I remember correctly, when they passed away very close to one another. It's one of those deals where, like, you know, they were going out at the same time. Batteries not included. Empire of the Sun. Executive produced TV movie, The China Odyssey. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 1988. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Are you kidding me? Please. We love Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Robert Zemeckis, obviously, you know, working with him on Back to the Future. She works with him again. See, you got to remember, like, a lot of these people that Kathleen works with are repeats. She works a lot with Zemeckis, works a lot with Spielberg, works a lot with her husband Frank Marshall. So you form these relationships in the film industry, and you keep working with people over and over and over again. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 1988. Roger Rabbit and the Secrets of Toontown, TV movie, executive producer. It's probably like a behind the scenes thing. Co-executive producer, Land Before Time. Classic movie. We love it. Don Bluth. He did The Secrets of Nim. I remember that movie. Oh, that was such a good movie, The Secrets of Nim. Tummy Trouble, a short film. Don't think I ever saw that. Little Nemo, The Adventures in Summerland. I don't think I ever saw that. Dad, I believe I saw that. Executive producer of Dad. Yeah, Jack Lemmon. I remember that one. And of course, you know, Olympia Dukakis. Looks like Ethan Hawke. Yep. Kevin Spacey. Yep. Lots of talented people. God, Jack Lemmon. He's been gone a long time now. Whew, she's worked with some great people. Right after that, 1989, Back to the Future Part 2. Once again, Robert Zemeckis and the whole cast of Back to the Future. Executive producer. Next, Always, 1989. This movie made me cry in the theater. Holly Hunter, Richard Dreyfuss, John Goodman, where Richard Dreyfuss dies in the film, and he's like a ghost watching her. It's directed by Steven Spielberg, watching his wife go on. And this was the last film Audrey Hepburn was ever in. Was this film? She played an angel, I believe, in the movie. This movie made me cry as a kid. Love this film. Absolutely love this movie. Always. Again, thank you, Kathleen Kennedy, for helping bring this to my life. Joe versus the Volcano, 1990. Here we go. Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan. Once again, working with Meg Ryan, Inner Space. You know, she did that one with Inner Space. So it's really cool. Oh, that's funny, Tom Smith. That's funny. When you say participated, I think that's funny. Didn't create them. No. Actually, you know, that's where you get it wrong. And I appreciate your input, but you're getting it wrong with how it works as a producer in Hollywood. Back to the Future Part 3, Gremlins Part 2, 1990. The Roller Coaster Rabbit. I saw that. That was a short film with Roger Rabbit. I remember seeing that one too. Joe versus the Volcano is another movie more people should talk about. Yes, very good film. Arachnophobia. She's a producer on Arachnophobia. Great movie. Frank Marshall directed that. It's her husband. You know, some people could call that nepotism. I don't think so. Jeff Daniels was in that, of course. John Goodman. Great movie. We all remember that film. Is that? Oh, Julian Sands. That's right. He was in that. Did they ever find him on that mountain? I mean, I think he disappeared. I don't know if they ever found him on that mountain. Cape Fear, the remake of the original. The original had Gregory Peck and who was the other guy? Robert Mitchum. So they remake it with Robert De Niro, Nick Nolte, and Jessica Lange. And Kathleen Kennedy is a producer on it. Great movie. I think they also who else was in that? They discovered, I think, Juliette Lewis. It was one of her earlier films, and they brought back Robert Mitchum and Gregory Peck to do cameos in the film. But it was a great movie, really scary. Cape Fear. Curly Sue. I don't remember seeing that one. I think I might have seen it, but I don't remember. A Brief History of Time. An American Tale, Fievel Goes West. I remember that one. Executive producer. Hook. She's a producer on Hook. Oh my God. Dustin Hoffman, Robin Williams. Are you kidding me? One of my favorite movies of all time, Hook. You see, I literally could go through my entire childhood, and Kathleen Kennedy has her fingerprint on so many movies that I grew up with. A Wish for Wings That Work. I don't think I saw that one. Tiny Toon Adventures. No, I didn't see that one. Noises Off. Didn't see that one. Fievel's Adventures in the West. I didn't see that one. Any of the Tiny Toon stuff. I know that was a big deal. Like Spielberg brought back the Tiny Toons and did all that kind. I at that age, and in 1993, I'd graduated high school, so that kind of stuff, I wasn't watching Tiny Toons. Wasn't watching that. So we'll kick it up here. Let's just jump. Still in 1993, Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park. Kathleen Kennedy, Jurassic Park, directed by Steven Spielberg. And you gotta remember, guys, when we're talking about Jurassic Park, you also have to remember that if you've ever watched the behind the scenes on Jurassic Park, it was the CGI artist, because Phil Tippett was going to be doing all the stop motion. They were going to do stop motion on it. That's what they were going to do. And the guy who was doing the CGI did that one monitor in his office with the T-Rex as the bones running. And he kind of did that and set it up so that because he knew when Kathleen Kennedy saw it, she would be like, "What is that?" and ask a question. And because he knew at that point that they could do the dinosaurs in CG, but Phil Tippett was still doing all this test footage and everything and doing stop motion stuff. And he knew, because Kathleen Kennedy is smart. And he knew if he had a monitor with that thing running on it, she'd see it and the paradigm would shift. And Kathleen Kennedy saw it. And she said, "What is that?" And that's just something I'm doing. Well, how do we make that? Boom. And then it takes off. And then you have the what we have today, Jurassic Park, CGI, all this stuff, Terminator 2, The Abyss, you name it. It all started when Kathleen Kennedy saw that computer monitor of that CGI artist. That's when it started. So when you talk about all these films and you talk about Hollywood, she saw it. She saw it first. Dangerous Woman, we're back at Dinosaur Story, Schindler's List, 1993. She's a producer on Schindler's List. Come on, guys, Schindler's List. One of the greatest movies of all time. That's the thing. She follows it up with the Flintstones. I really didn't like the Flintstones, got to be honest. It just wasn't my thing. The Bridges of Madison County, Clint Eastwood. Oh, I loved this film. Meryl Streep. I was managing a movie theater when this film came out, and I remember watching it over and over and over again. Even on my days off, I would come in the theater and I would watch The Bridges of Madison County. A fantastic, beautiful film, beautiful story. Thank you, Kathleen Kennedy, for helping bring that to the big screen. Congo. Come on, man. We remember Congo. Look who that is. Yeah. Laura Linney, Tim Curry. I remember, I first saw Laura Linney in the movie with Edward Norton and Presumed Innocent. I think, no, that was Harrison Ford. What was the movie with Richard Gere? Somebody in the comment section. Richard Gere and Edward Norton. She was in that one. Remember, because she played Mrs. Venable, I think was her name. I could probably just click on her and tell you what it was. Let's go to Laura Linney. Let's see what she was doing. I know the movie. Let's go. Come on. Got to go back further than that. It's really the first time I saw Laura Linney and she was on my radar. Come on. What was that movie? Primal Fear. That was it. Primal Fear. Yes. Blind Braille. Primal Fear. Absolutely correct. Laura Linney. Oh God, she was so sexy in that movie. I was just like, I was in love with her. Okay, so she does Congo. And you know, the ape costumes and all that kind of stuff for Congo was fantastic. So we're back here. We're gonna get there to the new stuff, but we still have a lot to go. See, this is what kills me about everyone, Indian in the Cupboard, fantastic movie. I loved Indian in the Cupboard. I remember the one shot where they actually had RoboCop because he had a RoboCop toy, and they used a dude in a RoboCop suit and in the cupboard. And I remember seeing that as a kid, just being like, oh, or not a kid. I guess I wasn't a kid. I guess I was like right out of high school. But Indian in the Cupboard was a fantastic movie. Love that one. Very good stuff. I wonder whatever happened to that kid. Thank you, Kathleen Kennedy, for Indian in the Cupboard. Balto, I never saw that cartoon. Again, it was 1995. I was right out of high school. So cartoons just weren't my thing. I don't remember seeing the best of Roger Rabbit, but I was managing a movie theater when Twister came out. And Twister really, that was a big year. Twister came out. Mission Impossible came out. Independence Day was out that year. I remember I was in a movie theater, and this is in the 1990s, 1996. Our little sixplex, it was a sixplex movie theater because they weren't building the mega movie theaters then. We did something like $5 million over the whole summer. I remember the deposits, like every day, were $60,000 in cash. They didn't have swipe cards, not in the 90s. Everyone paid cash at the movie theater. Or we would pre-sell movie tickets. You'd pre-sell a ticket, a paper ticket you could buy in a book. But anyway, it was all cash. And we would have police escorts to take us back and forth because it was one movie after another. Twister. It was just boom, boom, Mission Impossible, boom, Independence Day. The money was just, that was one of the biggest years in cinema. Thank you, Kathleen Kennedy, for helping bring Twister to the big screen. And again, pushing the envelope of CGI. And then, of course, Lost World Jurassic Park, 1997. Olympic Glory, a short film. What's really interesting is she goes from directing these huge films to doing these short pieces, which I think is great. Again, with the Animaniacs, I wasn't into that. The Sixth Sense. Producer on The Sixth Sense. I see dead people. Bruce Willis. Come on. Bruce Willis in his prime. Everyone loves The Sixth Sense. Thank you, Kathleen Kennedy, for that one. Snow Falling on Cedars. Didn't see that one. A Map of the World. Didn't see that one. The sports pages. Nope. But AI, artificial intelligence, once again. And this is the thing. Haley Joel Osment. She, do The Sixth Sense. A couple of years later, boom. Here you go. The same guy, same actor for AI. That's the thing. When they find a good actor, they use them and they keep bringing him back. And he was just extremely talented as a kid. We all know that one. Yeah, crazy. She produced that. Yep. So after that, Jurassic Park 3, and then Signs. Then she's in there with M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, and she's directing producing Signs. It was a Mel Gibson movie, and yes, I like Mel Gibson. Joaquin Phoenix and Rory Culkin were in that. We all love that one. And all aliens didn't want to get the water, or what was it? They didn't want to get wet. Wild movie, 2002. Seabiscuit, Tobey Maguire, fantastic movie, directed by Gary Ross. Jeff Bridges, Elizabeth Banks. This was a great all-star cast. Love this movie. Chris Cooper was great. Man, love all these actors. Good people. Once again, Seabiscuit. Again, I said it earlier, Kathleen Kennedy, 8 Academy Award wins, 5 of the top 50 highest grossing films of all time she was a producer on. The Young Black Stallion, I didn't see that one. I love the original Black Stallion, but I didn't see The Young Black Stallion. This was a Walt Disney film. And I know my sister probably saw this one because she loved the original Black Stallion, but I didn't see this. This was a sequel. Didn't see that one. I'm a guy. I don't watch a lot of horse stuff. I mean, I watch Seabiscuit, but I didn't watch that one. Munich. No, wait. War of the Worlds. Yep, back with Spielberg, helping out with War of the Worlds. Tom Cruise. Dakota Fanning. Just a fantastic. You guys can't deny this was a great remake of the original. So again, Kathleen Kennedy just rocking it out. And I have to say, she was a producer on Munich after that. Munich, in my mind, is Steven Spielberg's one of his best films ever made, ever lensed. It was such a wild, different, just, violent. I didn't see this movie coming. And so just a wild movie, but Munich was great. Based on a true story. All-star cast. Look at that. Daniel Craig, Jeffrey Rush, Eric Bana. Awesome stuff. Once again, working with Spielberg. Cannot be denied. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Yeah, exactly. Munich is so damn good. Hold on. Let me do that. I got to get this. I got dual screens, so I got to get my mouse back over here. Let me put this up. Boom. Munich is so damn good. Absolutely. Totally agree. I'm getting the hang of this thing here. So, then we go from Munich. I did not see The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. She was a producer on that one. Didn't see that one. I might have to check this one out. Looks pretty good. And of course, I didn't see this one. Associate producer. The movies rock. I didn't see that. Executive producer. Indiana Jones and the King of Crystal Skull. We all know that was a little bit of a misfire. But I think, I think there's moments in this movie that I love, and then there's moments that I just go, huh? So, I think it's growing on me over time. I can kind of watch it and get through it, but I'm really looking forward to the next Indiana Jones film. Ponyo, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. She was a producer on that. What a fun, wild movie. And the pushing of the special effects with the aging makeup, and then the CGI that they did on him. It was mostly CGI for Brad Pitt in this film. Fantastic stuff. Once again, Kathleen Kennedy. The Special Relationship TV movie. I didn't see that one. Oh, that was the Bill Clinton, George W. Bush thing. Yeah, I didn't see that one. I don't watch a lot of the political movies. I try not to get political, but I just don't like, they bore me sometimes. The Last Airbender. Okay. The Secret World of Ariadne. Hereafter. From Up. On Poppy Hill. The Adventures of Tintin. Come on. Once again, what a great Spielberg film. Andy Serkis, Daniel Craig did the voices. I mean, the CGI looked fantastic in this movie. What a fun movie. Benjamin Button is so weird. I can't. David Fincher directed. Look, David Fincher's a wild guy. I have to say that. There's a handful of David Fincher films that I like. I love Alien 3, and a lot of people don't like Alien 3. And I wished I could have seen a finished version of the director's cut. Instead of the chest burster coming out of the dog, it came out of an oxen. And you can see a director's cut in the Criterion edition, but the footage is like, it's missing special effects when they add in the pieces to make it the director's cut. And the film quality is not as good as the finished product. So it goes from being really clean to being like rough with lines, because they found like an old print to just throw in the scene, and there's no score on that stuff. So, but the director, I'd love to see a director's cut fully realized of Alien 3, because it was a damn good movie. Girl on a Train, BFG, The Force Awakens. You can start seeing this is the era. War Horse, Lincoln. A friend of mine worked on Lincoln. Come on, Daniel Day-Lewis, Spielberg. Wow, Spielberg works a lot with Tony Kushner lately too. He wrote that one, and he helped write The Fabelmans. But then The Force Awakens, Girl on a Train, Rogue One, artists in the industry, Last Jedi, Solo, Rise of Skywalker. So you see what happens, and then you get the Book of Boba Fett, Young Yoda producer series. I don't know if that's even happening. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Light and Magic, Andor, Willow, Mandalorian. So honestly, like you look, it's only because when she took over Lucasfilm. So you're talking like 2016 to now, like 10 projects, 12 projects. But people forget about all this stuff she's been doing for years. And this is what blows my mind, because I guarantee, let me get my mouse back over to this side. I'll stop sharing. I guarantee that all the chuds and all the whiners out there about Kathleen Kennedy, they've got 90% of these movies in their physical media collection on a shelf. They've got them. They're sitting there. I could go to some of these guys' houses and start pulling DVDs right out. And they didn't even know, because they didn't check the credit list. They didn't know because they probably don't watch the Oscars, seeing her get her Oscars. And they don't know. And it wasn't until a lot of these people came on the scene during COVID and started their YouTube channels and things like that, and they started bashing Kathleen Kennedy, which is insane, because whether she's a woman or not, they always try to push that female narrative when they're slamming her. But when you talk about Kathleen Kennedy, female aside, she is one of the most successful producers in Hollywood history. And yes, you can attribute that because of the relationships and the films that she's been attached to. But it doesn't mean she's standing around getting coffee for Rian Johnson. Like, that's not what executive producers do. That's not what producers do. And so for me, it's absolutely hysterical when I see people completely trashing Kathleen Kennedy, because it's just not merited at all. And so, it's International Women's Day today. I wanted to highlight all of the successes that Kathleen Kennedy has had over the years, and to let people know that, she did go to college for editing and camera and all. So she knew, she wasn't just somebody that was taking notes and a secretary. She kind of knew what was going on to get a degree in film. It's just like, it blows my mind when people don't understand how film works. They only see the finished product. They don't know what it takes to get to that finished product. They don't understand that these movies, because nobody sits and watches the credits, even a Marvel film now will have 600 credits at the end. It's insane. But these movies will have 200-300 credits, multiple departments that have to be managed. And everybody reports to somebody. Department heads always report to a producer, executive producer. And I guarantee Kathleen Kennedy, after all these years, knows those departments inside and out. So when an art department, art director or production designer comes to her and says, oh, well, I'm going to do this, but it's going to take this, she knows it's either going to take that or it's not going to take that. You can't pull the wool over Kathleen Kennedy. She's smart. She wouldn't be where she is with 60 films, some of the highest grossing films of all time, 8 Academy Awards. You don't get there just fetching coffee for Steven Spielberg. Doesn't work that way. It does. It's a great narrative if you're trying to sell that to make fun of somebody. but that's not how it works. Yes, absolutely. More people. Let me throw this up here. Get this up here. You're right. More people need to understand the industry and filmmaking. That's right. And I've been in the business over 20 years now, and I know the departments. I know how it works. I've worked in multiple departments. I've seen good producers. I've seen bad producers. You don't get where Kathleen Kennedy is being a bad producer. Okay. Now, there could be an argument made that maybe being a studio head is a little different than producing films, if that's the argument. Hey, what is this here? Oh, hey, everyone. Just got done with my first basketball themed stream. Hope all is well, Sean. Basketball themed? Was it NBA? Did you do NBA or NCAA? I'm going to have to go check out your channel, dude. I need to get caught up on stuff anyway because it's March. March Madness is about to break off. Let's see. Hans. Hey, Hans. What's up, buddy? I don't care for modern films now, but I still respect the amount of work that goes into them. Well, a lot of modern films now seem to be, and I've worked on a lot of the modern films, they seem to be just being cranked out because there's 200 channels now. There's multiple streaming platforms and everybody wants work. So they're throwing money at anything. So I totally agree with that. George, you're doing the NBA. Okay, cool. So yeah, man. I mean, I know a lot of people are probably going to throw shade at me for this video on International Women's Day celebrating Kathleen Kennedy. But again, like if you're just joining the stream, got to go back. Got to look at everything we've been talking about. Got to look at all the movies. We went through her entire filmography. And it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Quality over quantity. Well, yeah, but we're talking Hans, I think you're referring to the film industry as a whole. Yeah. There needs to be more quality and less quantity. Yeah. But the race is almost over. I think all the streaming networks, this year they made announcements. They're all pulling back their spending because the race to get to the finish line to be in the best streaming platform is coming to an end because everybody borrowed so much money in order to make all their content. Now it's time to pay the Pied Piper, and they got to pay back the note. I've got some nice Bailey's Irish cream on ice. So I'm doing really well, guys. But yeah, I mean, what is your favorite Kathleen Kennedy movie? Seriously, is it Back to the Future? Is it Indiana Jones Temple of Doom? Is it Indiana Jones The Last Crusade? Batteries Not Included? Empire of the Sun? Land Before Time? Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Tintin. What is your favorite movie? Because she's got 60 films. I want to know. It's a good okay, let's see what we got here. It's a good reminder and in-depth look at her career. She can always improve with the upcoming Star Wars movies and TV shows. She still made some of the best Disney Star Wars movies and shows. Look, I can criticize too. I honestly think the two best Star Wars films that have come out of the Disney era is Rogue One and The Force Awakens. I've not really loved all the rest of them. And I think the TV shows are hit and miss. The Book of Boba Fett only had a couple of episodes I liked. Kenobi, I was 50-50 on Kenobi. I liked 3. I didn't like the other 3. The Mandalorian, this new season, the first 2 that have come out of the gate, I haven't been that impressed with. I'll be honest with you. And I don't know whether I'm just getting burned out on how much Star Wars content just keeps coming out. Andor was pretty damn good as a series. But again, there's something about the formula. You got to remember, like Andor had Tony Gilroy. Tony Gilroy was instrumental in doing a lot of the reshoots and rewriting on Rogue One, which subsequently had, the same lead actor for Andor. So, I feel like they're hit and miss, but I feel like they might be getting into a groove. And so, yeah, that's it. Let's see. Yeah, she produced all the Jurassic Park films, or most of them. I think it was Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3. I don't think she did the last trilogy, but I think her husband did, Frank Marshall. She was busy being head of Lucasfilm, so those new films were all done by her. Aggressive, relaxing. People should have to work in a restaurant and on some sort of production to avoid saying ignorant stuff. Yes, I totally agree. You know, and before I was in the film industry, I worked in restaurants. So I know I am the biggest forgiver of mistakes at restaurants. I swear to God, I've literally been served a plate and had a hair on it and just picked the hair out and threw it because shit's gonna happen, man. Somebody's gonna have a hair, and I know it's creep, and I just eat the food. Fuck it, because if you send it back because of a hair, they're gonna fuck with it because I've because I've worked in these things. So yeah, but restaurants and film production, if you haven't done it, you should shut up. Yes, Andor, it was amazing, very good. And Hans, the first Indiana Jones, yeah, that was one of the starts of it. She was a producer's assistant with Spielberg on that one, but Frank Marshall, who was her husband, was the producer of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, and then of course she goes on to be a producer on Temple of Doom and a producer on, because she's Frank Marshall, Kathleen Kennedy, and Spielberg started in 1981 Amblin Entertainment, which is Spielberg's production company. So, I mean, you can't deny that trilogy, what am I saying? That you can't deny those three individuals all working together as a team to be successful. Oh, let's see what we got here. KK is telling one story over multiple eras using TV, movies, comics, books, theme parks. It's a pretty incredible art project. Yes, people are forgetting that. And it's hard. And right now, I think she's finding a groove with Filoni and Favreau. And people would say that, like, oh, Filoni and Favreau should take over. And yeah, at some point, probably taking over Lucasfilm. But I don't think you got to remember, like Filoni's background was an artist and then story guy with Clone Wars and stuff. But being head of a studio is a totally different thing. A lot of people were given James Gunn. Oh, James Gunn can't run a studio. It's like, well, he's been a director, a producer, a writer. Like, if you wear multiple hats in the film industry, you understand how the process works. You absolutely become a studio head. Someone like Filoni may not be ready to be a studio head because he don't have enough under his belt. Jon Favreau, on the other hand, yes. But I think Jon Favreau has so much more fun playing in the Star Wars universe. Running a company is totally different. Totally different. Let's see what we got. Lack of direction for a singular goal seems to be lacking in the main films, but the episodic nature of Mandalorian works in its own right with simultaneously an overarching plot. Yes, I agree with that. I think there was a lot of missteps with the films, but I think there were course corrections that were made to try to fix things. Like I've said this before, when I talk about Rogue One, Gareth Edwards, who was the director of Rogue One, he was originally hired because he did Godzilla. Godzilla did $500 million and he was a huge Star Wars fan. So they're like, oh, this guy's a Star Wars fan and he respects franchises like he did Godzilla, and he did Godzilla justice. Like the other one with Matthew Broderick that came out in the 90s did not do justice to Godzilla. Toho Studios was very upset with how that turned out. And so you get Gareth Edwards in there and he is going to make a great movie. Well, he came from a background of this handheld shaky cam stuff, and he was incorporating a lot of that into Rogue One. And there were problems with some of the story elements. And, they bring in Tony Gilroy to do some rewrites and some reshooting and the whole 9 yards. And Gareth Edwards has an amazing film that he can say, I did Rogue One, or I did 80% of Rogue One. But the bottom line is, like, that was a course correction. If we'd have gotten the film that Gareth had made, maybe it wouldn't have been as good. That's something to think about. So she pivoted. There were problems with the Solo film. Lord and Miller were great with Spider-Man and Lego Movie and all this other kind of stuff. And they come in and they think, hey, they're going to do Solo. This is going to be great. And the thing that Lucasfilm was trying to do was they were trying to get new blood, new, fresh talent to direct these new movies versus going to the well and maybe bringing in an older person like Spielberg or like Ron Howard. But what happened is they realized, well, we had problems with Gareth Edwards and we had to course correct. Okay, we got this other guy. He's going to do the next movie. And we had problems with these two guys because they're doing Solo. And you got Larry Kasdan, who wrote Solo. He also wrote The Empire Strikes Back and Raiders of the Lost Ark. So this guy goes all the way back to the early days with Spielberg, with Lucas and Spielberg and all those guys. So you get him, and you put him in Video Village because he's the writer, and his son wrote Solo. They know Han Solo better than anyone else. And then you get Lord Miller, and they're like, shoot a scene with the lines Larry wrote, and his son wrote, and it's like, but now we're going to improv. So just improv. And then you got Alden Ehrenreich complaining to Kathleen Kennedy that he feels like he's doing an impression of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, and he doesn't feel like it's too much comedy, doesn't feel like he's being Han Solo. And so he complains. Larry Kasdan complains that they're shitting on their script by doing improv. And you can't do that when you've got unions involved, the WGA, Writers Guild of America. And you can't do that when he's Larry Kasdan, who's best friends with George Lucas, best friends with Kathleen Kennedy. And you can't shit on this guy. And they were, so they fired him. And then they go, okay, well, maybe we got to bring in some seasoned directors. We got to bring in someone like Ron Howard. And the only way for Ron Howard to get full credit because of the DGA, Directors Guild of America, you have to have directed 75% or more of the film. So in order for him to get that credit, and they had all this footage on the floor that I already had, but as they were assembling it, it just wasn't, the feel wasn't there. They had to basically scrap the movie and start all over again. And Ron Howard had to do 75% or more of the filming. But even though Solo's release date was botched and the movie lost money, if they'd have held that till Christmas instead of Mary Poppins, because Mary Poppins ended up tanking in the box office, if they'd have held Solo to get through the Last Jedi backlash to Christmas, it would have been a financial hit. But it was released in May, only a few months, 6 months after The Last Jedi, when the backlash started, and people didn't show up. But if you talk to most people that watch Solo, they'll tell you Solo was a good film. Yeah, I did see that recently. Donnie Yen had some solid criticism about Rogue One, and actually gave suggestions to not make his character stereotypical Asian, which I thought was great. But again, it's a collaborative effort. Making movies and TV shows is a collaborative effort. Solo should have dropped in December, right in the middle of Infinity War and Deadpool. No, I mean, I believe it would have been successful in December because people go to multiple movies. You got to remember, people are out of school for the holidays too. So people would have had multiple chances to go to the cinema and see that film. I don't think, and Deadpool 2 did a lot of money, but Infinity War did gangbusters, but I don't think it would have hurt Solo. I think Solo would have done more than 360 million or whatever it was, and it bombed. It actually lost $124 million for the studio when the dust settled. But it should have absolutely, bad timing. It should have absolutely been. Let's see, drop a link. The Boba story. Oh yeah, the Boba Fett story. Yeah, they had Josh Trank, who was originally supposed to, he was just coming off the Fantastic Four, and they had hired him to do the Boba Fett movie, the Boba Fett story that was supposed to happen. But there was a lot of crap that went on the set of the Fantastic Four, and they let him go before they even got started. And then what was being developed as Boba Fett ended up turning into, when Favreau got involved, into the Mandalorian. The Boba Fett stuff, dude, Josh Trank, yeah, he was a mess on Fantastic Four. So Lucasfilm had all these things where they were trying to get hot young directors to direct their new properties, but things weren't working out. but their strategy seemed sound when they went in. Yeah, let's get these hot directors that are making these movies that are making tons of money, and let's put them in a Star Wars film, and we'll hold their hands and guide them. Unfortunately, they needed way more than holding hands, but you saw the pivots. You saw what Kathleen Kennedy had to do as a producer: bring in Tony Gilroy, fix Rogue One, bring in Ron Howard, fix Solo. Even if Solo bombed at the box office, still a solid movie. If you watch it now, most people that like Star Wars movies like Solo, period. Get rid of Josh Trank, scrap the Boba Fett movie, boom, make it a TV series. Mandalorian, everyone loves it. There was supposed to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi story, a Star Wars story. That feature film got shit canned, and they decided to make it into the series Kenobi that we have today. And even Ewan McGregor is on the record of saying that it was supposed to be a movie, and then they decided to make it a series. So, what do we got here? I moved on from fan fiction now. I write my own stuff. Oh, that's great that you're writing your own material. That's awesome. Good for you, man. That's great. The land speeder in the beginning is one of my favorite Star Wars props ever. I hope they do more with that guy. Yeah, whatever happened. I mean, they but I think of the new Star Wars Mandalorian episode that dropped, the Bunta race or whatever is going on Tatooine, and they were showing some versions of the land speeders. Kind of now it looks like instead of going around with the pod racers like they do kind of like the Indy cars going through streets in Europe. And that was that. So they use land speeders and that. I thought that was cool. I don't know if did I spoiler alert? Have you watched the second episode of Mandalorian? 2018 was crazy for blockbusters. It was a big year. I'm a published author now. I wrote my first book, Dark Avenger. Dude, send me the link. I'd love to cover it. Maybe we could do a live stream talking about it. Send me a link to where I can get it, and I'll pick up a copy. That's awesome. Good job, Hans. And I'm glad, because I know you went through a rough patch there for a while. I remember when you first started talking to me on my channel, you were going through a lot of stuff. It's nice to see that you've rebounded and you've focused your creativity and you're starting to do this kind of stuff. I'm excited for you. It's good stuff, man. Anytime people are creative and the creativity actually gets people out of a depression or out of a rut, whether it be like not having a job or not being able to pay bills or whatever, and you start to really, sometimes you have to get into those desperate situations before your creativity explodes, because your mind starts thinking about other ways to do things. And so I applaud you for that, man. Oh, no worries. I'm about to watch it. Yeah. You should definitely watch the second episode. Hey, Sage, what's going on? So yeah, the new episode of The Mandalorian, I was like, it was okay. Like none of it's blown me away yet. And I'm waiting to be blown away. And I hope that happens soon. Saggy, I hope you go back to the beginning of the stream and watch, because it's International Women's Day and I'm celebrating Kathleen Kennedy. And we went through her entire IMDb, all 60 films, and talked about all her big movies that she's worked on and where she got her start in the business and the whole 9 yards. And so you should definitely kind of recap this one and check it out. I'm going to go for just a few more minutes, guys, and kill it at an hour. It's been really good to kind of go over Kathleen Kennedy's successes. Again, 8 Oscars, 60 feature films, not to mention all television series. And I think her combined 60 feature films have made $11 billion in the film industry. So she's the most successful film producer, one of the most successful film producers in history. And you can't take that away from her, no matter how much you don't like Star Wars right now. You can't take away her accolades and all the great decisions she's made in her career. And again, all the haters. I know you got Back to the Future in your DVD collection. I know you got the Goonies Blu-ray. I know you got all the Jurassic Parks. I know you've got Empire of the Sun. I know you've got Munich. I know you've got Tintin. I know it. I know it, all of it. Batteries not included, Inner Space. I know it. Remember Inner Space? It was the one guy that was the hologram in Voyager. He played the cowboy. You remember that? Anyway. So, okay. You're going to send me a link to Amazon? Are you sending me a link? That's the link on Amazon. Where's the link? I don't see it. I don't see it in my thing. You might have to private message me. And I don't know if maybe it screens things like that, thinking it's bots or something in the chat. I don't see it, but I'll check. But anyway, thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed this stream. And I've got some cool stuff tomorrow night. I've got an actress, Christy Murdoch, is going to be on. She's got a new movie that comes out on a week on the Lifetime movie network called Spring Break Nightmare, and it's loosely based on a true story. So you got to check that out. And then on Friday, I've got a live stream with Ryan Dacko, who is the author of the book, the Book of Jaws, or the Book of Quint, which is a prequel book to Jaws. The first 10 chapters are all the Indianapolis story when the ship sinks and all of his men he's with them and they're being chewed up by sharks and stuff. It's a beautifully written book about post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's so adventurous and so fantastic that he's turning this into a script, a feature film, and I got him in contact with an agent that's representing him, and they're getting it to big time people right now in Hollywood. And it's pretty cool, man. We're really excited about where this thing's going to go. You guys might be watching this on the big screen, this book, and it'll all be my fault. Anyway, try to come back for the next 2 streams tomorrow night and Friday night. They're both at 8 o'clock my time, 8:15 Eastern Standard Time, if you can. And I appreciate everybody that watched tonight. Take care. And I'll end that broadcast, and I got to hit a button and then it'll end.